All right, what's going on, guys? Just wanted to jump on here real quick just to share some insight I've had recently. Just got my website up a couple days ago, and I'm starting to write down my process, my approach to practice, to cultivating health, wellness, all of the good things in life. And my ultimate goal, which is very important, the drive at the end, is to cultivate the state, to cultivate the ability, that flow, that grace, that connection, that experience that's not reliant on environment or material resource, but that is an innate aspect of yourself. Being able to cultivate the ability to find that peace, to find that flow, to enjoy, to appreciate. And there are many practices, lifestyle practices, that help us to have that peace, that clarity of mind, that confidence, that enjoyment. Having a good diet, having a body that's free of pain, it's damn near necessary. Having good meditation practices, primary in the sense that you need to get your mind aligned first. Having your connection to your community, your relationships, your emotional IQ and processing and cleansing, your fulfillment through your service of your gift to society, of your gift to your family and your community. There are a lot of different aspects that need to be nurtured to experience that joy of fulfillment, to live a good life, so to speak. And in writing this, it really made me take time to contemplate, what is the most fundamental practice? What's the best gift you can offer somebody who's coming in to even just trying to get healthy, just trying to get in good shape, trying to change their diet? What's the foundation? Because I could say meditate, get your mind clear, but that requires a certain level of discipline and consistent practice. So then you'd say the willpower, the self-discipline is behind all of that. It's the self-discipline and self-control and mastery over one's mind that allows you to pursue through all the difficulties that are guaranteed to come and keep your eye on that goal. So how do you cultivate that? Practice. But if you don't have the will in the beginning, how do you even begin? And I've come to what I believe to be the foundation and also a righteous fuel behind all practice, behind all growth, that when practiced consistently will assist in the perseverance with your diet, with your training, with your meditation, with your service. And that foundation is appreciation. That foundation is the level of value that you place on these goals, these ideas, these destinations that you want to reach. Now that value can be cultivated. We can increase the value of our dreams. And in doing so, we increase our drive. If I told you, hey, come over and kick it at the house, I'll throw you $5. I just need someone to hang out with. Like, dude, I'm lazy. I don't feel like getting up. But if it was $5,000, you'd probably be here in a couple seconds. It's a level of value that you place on your goal. And in order to increase the value of something, we have to invest more energy into it. We have to consciously bring our attention to things. So I believe in the beginning, when we're even formulating, what is it that we want? What's the ultimate goal? What's the best destination? What's the most attractive thing I can dream to create? What is my biggest dream? Taking time just to be grateful for what you've already had, for what you have right now, is the ultimate art. Because in doing so, we automatically become more wealthy. We will automatically shift our state and start feeling better. And when we feel better, we're not going to go for that snack food. We're not going to skip the gym to go play hooky. We'll pursue it. We'll feel lighter. We have more energy. We have more appreciation for what we have. And it starts to cultivate the skill of optimism and appreciation. You develop that awareness of all the gifts that you already have. Guaranteed, there are always people who have it way worse off than you. When we cultivate our practice of always seeing these gifts in the ways we've been supported, you develop optimism. Optimistic. It's optimal and it's mystical because it seems to be a superpower of sorts. When you really develop that, you can be in a very bad situation and see the good in it. And just that little perception, keeping your eye on the light in the situation, can help you get through. That's the practice. And through that, it begins the practice of concentration. We keep our eye on the things that we value. We repeat that, and that's our practice. I recommend beginning of the day, start the day on that right foot. And this energy can be carried further into your prayer, into your wishes, into the things that you desire and dream, and then applied to your practice. They say you have to learn to concentrate before you can meditate. Concentration is the precursor before you ever even meditate. And we're learning to condense our awareness, to intensify our stream of attention. And when we learn to do this, when we are consciously able to concentrate all of our energy on one thought, one idea, one action, that's when we have some serious power. Those things we think about, we can find solutions faster. We can bring them into our reality faster. We can impact our own psyche faster because we're walking around in this suit of the subconscious with all these memories. And most people in this day and age, it's 80%. You're looking for fearful things. You're looking for hurtful things. We don't trust. We've been hurt. We've been damaged, we feel. We look for the negative. And that's a pattern. That's a safety mechanism. And it takes consistent effort, consistent practice to look at the bright side, to see the gifts, to focus on those things that better us. But over time, it rewires our entire suit. It'll change our body. It'll change our mind, our emotional state. And we'll enter into a state of grace. There's a place, I've experienced enough to crave it more than anything, where no matter the circumstance, doesn't matter the environment, there's a place of peace, of awareness, of witnessing while acting that's always got the perfect solution to every situation. You know just the right words, just the right action, when to listen, when to act. It's a state of allowance, but it's active. It's grace. And it's epic. It's gold. It's an adventure that's continuously changing and evolving. And you just witness the perfection unfolding. And what stops and what halts the grace is our tension and our fear. It's this restriction of self-judgment, of getting hurt, of hurting others. And that tension, even on the really subtle level, will stagger and stagnate the flow of grace, the flow of experience. So it's the ability to cultivate a very sensitive awareness so that you're always releasing free of tension and expressing the authentic experience in the moment. And that place when followed, when allowed, unfolds into all those things you desire to accomplish with your goals, with your training. But it's in a state of grace. It doesn't take effort. It's not forceful. It's not difficult. People say, oh, it takes so much discipline. How do you do that? Well, it's my image, my value that I place on that experience that I know exists that helps me to pursue and fast every day for years, to train every day, to meditate. It's knowing where that's leading. And it's always a learning experience, and it takes patience. And just recently I activated my website, and I'm starting the practice of writing and actually putting these ideas, my beliefs, my views of practice and cultivating that state, of cultivating good health, of cultivating a good life, and to have to write that down. I recommend everybody do it. To have to write down your approach to living the best life you can imagine. Where do you start? That was the conundrum I was in for a couple days. What is the most foundational effort you can put forward? But when I'm talking to a really depressed, overweight, sad individual, like, why? The question's why? Why do any of it? Why fast all day? Why do this? Like, life is difficult. Life is hard. But there is always a flame within us, even if it's small, as long as somebody's alive. There is that light, that love that's within us. There are things in this life that we love, that we appreciate. And no matter how small it is, when we bring our attention to that, we'll cultivate it and it will grow. It's like building a fire. It's building the skill of appreciation. And this appreciation becomes our will, becomes our drive. So that's the first article I posted. And that's where I see the fundamental is, because I can offer your meditation, I can offer the diet and all these things that I will share, but who's going to pursue that? Who wants to fast all day, Why would you do that? How far in the future is your goal? How big have you really dreamed? How far have you thought this through? You get the house, you get the girlfriend, you got the car, you got the fame. What does that feel like? It's still temporary. You know that. It's going to be gone. So how do you cultivate the thing that's not going to disappear? What is that? It's intangible. How do we get closer to that? And how do we get closer to that and also enjoy our life as much as possible while we're here? It's a skill of perception, a skill of crafting our awareness. Because I can look at all the difficult shit that's happening in this world and how screwed humanity is, or I can see the beauty of how the trial causes us to grow and develop. I can see the difficulties that I've been having with my health and my trials, or I can see how beautifully I've been directed to get fully educated on nutrition and lifestyle. Your illness is your blessing should you choose to heal it, should you commit to figuring out why. And then that blessing not only gives you the contrast and the freedom once you're healed of knowing what it's like to be less than the best ever and then full of energy, but then you have a gift to offer and give others and save them from suffering. It's one of the greatest gifts there is contribution. And we find our contribution by finding our own cure, by analyzing our own story, seeing our desires, our difficulties, and finding a resolution. That's the process I'm in right now, my friends. I wanted to share that insight. To cultivate a practice and to adhere to it builds your power, your ability to make anything happen. It's fundamental. But how do you stick to that practice? It's how much you value it. You'll definitely get out of bed in the morning for a couple $1 million. Huh? No hesitation. Why is that more valuable than that holy state of grace, that amazing, indescribable reality, that peace and understanding that comes with knowing the depths and truth of who you are, of what's behind the eyes, so to speak. Cultivating the peace of knowing your real nature is a value that can't be taken away. Probably should prioritize that to some degree. These are all just my views, my friend. We all have our own approach to life, and I think it's a beautiful thing. We're all so unique, and it's important that we share our insights. So I certainly want to hear what you find to be fundamental to your practice, what you find to fuel that driving force to remain consistent, what your biggest dream is. Share it, cultivate it, write it down. I can't express enough how valuable writing is. When we have to explain these things that are of value to us, to somebody else in written word, it forces you to be very articulate. Reread what you just wrote. Can you express that more clearly? The more clearly you understand it, the more powerful it is to you. The more concise it is, the more powerful it is. If you can't say it simply, you simply don't understand it. It's still a vague idea. So the practice of explaining your ideal state, what's that like? What does it feel like to be in the ideal state? What does liberation feel like? What does that look like when you're finally free, when you're wealthy, when you're unattached? That's one of my favorite parts of Iron Man. I'd say he's my favorite superhero. And one of the biggest things that stuck out in my mind is, and I think it was the first movie, his whole house and laboratory got destroyed. And he just looked at it, lit a cigarette, and went on a walk. He wasn't destroyed over it. It didn't ruin his life. There was a moment of recognition and acceptance and an ability to just move on, to let it go. There's nothing you can do about it now. It's that freedom and unattachment to that peace. I had a teacher who told me, he's like, you could drop me off in the desert in a foreign country. I'd be a millionaire in a couple months. I was like, wow, this guy had a very solid psychology. One of the most powerful individuals I've ever met. And cultivating that psychology, that's the skill. That's the wealth that can't be taken from you. That's the ability you want to invest in, investing with your energy. Awesome. Beautiful. Keep sharing, keep talking about the things that you love, because that's how we cultivate them, paying attention to them. We pay attention, and they appreciate and value, and that value drives us that much harder, gives us that much more will to live and to grow, to expand. All right, I'm going to read some questions. It's good to see you guys. I know it was totally spur of the moment throwing it up here. Awesome. I'm doing well. Learn freedom. Righteous. That's definitely an excellent synchronicity. We have very similar, the same goal. Educate your way to God, my friend. Keep preaching truth, brother. God bless, David. It's lovely to see you talk. I can intuit what you were sharing and embodying. Highly valuable. So much physical pain, emotional and spiritual confusion. It all sounds far off. Thank you for stating that, and I understand, because we all go in and out of it or have experienced it to different depths. And I know when I'm really at the bottom, or when I have been, I speak differently. I share differently. I'm not so goofy. I'm not fucking around as much because it hurts. It's painful. And I want you to understand that that pain that you're feeling right now is gold, in the sense that that depth is the best place to lay a foundation when you're building, when you're rising. Because when you have that history of difficulty, the future, once you found your solution and brought your health back, is that much more enjoyable. Like, people can't even understand. For instance, I fast chronically. It was extremely difficult in the beginning to fast all day, especially as I had metabolic issues. And people would say things like, don't you like food? Or I like food too much to fast all day. And I'm like, you like food? You literally have no idea how much I enjoy food. You can't even comprehend. You've never enjoyed a meal to the level that I have, and you think I don't enjoy it. because I have the contrast. I've fasted 43 days before on juice. That apple I ate, you've never had an apple like that. You have no idea. So it's the same thing, my friend. Learn freedom. That pain and that difficulty, just persevere, keep pursuing, and understand that really it is the gift. And in that resolution, you'll have something very valuable to share that everyone can gain from. So really pay attention and have faith that you will find a resolution. And I say that's the best place to start, is just the gratitude of the realization of that, cultivating that perception of the gift that you've been given in that, and be patient and rest and prayer. God bless. There's nothing like some serious pain and ass kicking from life that'll make you pray. If you've never been to that point in your life where you just collapse and you're like, I am so sorry. I love you. I love you. I'm so sorry. Have you ever heard of Ho'oponopono? It's a traditional practice in Hawaiian, Polynesian culture of bringing amends. I say, I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. Those 4 things. That's how they bring truce to arguments and difficulties. And those are powerful statements. Each one can be concentrated on individually. And just sincere apologies. I have made many mistakes. I am so sorry. I saw the signs of whatever my injury was, whatever I did, and I apologize. I'm sorry. Sincere apology, sincere forgiveness, sincere gratitude, sincere love. These are powerful statements when they're really, really dropped into each individually. Yeah, doing good, brother. Keep it up. That's the ticket. Yeah, but okay, so fasting, one thing I have to say, if you chronically fast, you have to master your nutrition. The diet, the protocol that I'm living on is not anything our caveman ancestors did. I've run into deficiencies that have thrown me off the rail. I have been forced to learn about the intricacies of every nutrient in order to bring my health back. I had health issues before ever entering into this, and some of them got exacerbated. And that drove me to learn about them. And it's an ongoing process. But if you do fast chronically, if you do adhere to caloric restriction, you have to learn, you have to get educated on nutrition, what the RDAs of every necessary nutrient are. Make sure that you're getting them. Go to Chronometer and put in the foods you're eating and be aware. Supplementation, it's an education. All humans, this is what we should have been taught in school. It's ridiculous. If you have a body, just like if you have a car, you should learn how to take care of it. And it's a complex thing. We're all still learning, but that is an education that has to be pursued. If you really want freedom, really want liberation, granted, you could be a quadriplegic that's getting burned and still reach liberation. There's a piece of you that's untouchable by this reality. And that always has the opportunity to reach that freedom. So you're not inhibited by the physical, but getting the physical in an ideal state makes it that much more attainable, so to speak. Dry orgasm, 1 month, no ejaculations. That sounds painful, my friends. Ow. Oh, you're just talking about like the $1 million point. Dude, it's Dearman, bro. This guy's a legend. So you're talking like $1 million point ejaculation. Yeah. It's an interesting one, man. I've been successful before without the $1 million point by using Mula Bandha and drawing that energy straight up. The perineum is actually a diaphragm, just like the diaphragm that we breathe with. So when we can learn to draw that up, you can have that experience, that ejaculation, and keep the energy circulating. I felt like a girl after that. I was the one up talking. I was like, hey, you still awake? So that's something I've definitely not mastered, but that is definitely a very high level of control and sensitivity to deal with that energy, man. There's a lot involved with just building the nervous system and bodily awareness. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. Good work, bro. Jeez. TMI, yeah. It all depends, right, on where you're at and what you're working on. Dearman, that guy is the best. Like, I have to say, I value humor to such a high degree. Like, comedy is the best. It's the great transmuter of pain. And Dearman is an epic human. I'm not sure where he's at right now, but was dealing with some full body arthritis and in a lot of pain chronically. And I met him down in Peru, and I learned so much from this guy. His perception, his ability to perceive things in the light and to flip things. He was a master. I remember witnessing Dearman just taking difficult situations and then, like, boom, making you laugh your face off about them. Like he's like a judo master in the form of humor and joy. Like, I freaking love that guy. Oh, man, what an epic dude. What's your view on ayahuasca? That is so funny because I was actually on ayahuasca. Actually, it was LSD, I believe, when I was with Dearman. And that's when I got to sit back and witness his mastery of him just throwing people's minds around with his amazing perception and his ability to find the humor and to counter things so quickly. Just a sharp mind, my friend. I still think and laugh about our journeys often. Thank you, man. Hope you're well. I'm in books. There's so much I don't understand yet. So you do a high-fat diet. Why doesn't he do a high-fat diet? Focus on glycation. How did he build that kind of strength on such deficit? It's a great question. I don't know where he started at with his strength 15 years ago. I do know he's grown during the diet, and the amino acids are key. He's freaking unlocked the beast with his dial on the nutritional mastery. When you have all the amino acids in the right place, and then you stimulate growth hormone all day through your training, through your fasting, through the supplements that you take, and then you train, and then you eat all the amino acids and nutrients that you need, boom, your body is going to respond beautifully. He's pretty much dialed it to the point. It's still evolving. Like I said, I've had to adapt it to myself. I believe there are some genetic differences, namely in electrolytes is what I've been dealing with. But the ketogenic aspect, I remember I asked him about that originally, and his first two responses were old school, and I didn't agree with him. It was like cholesterol and heart disease. And I believe he's changed his tune in that. I don't think he ever really pursued it, and I don't believe he had the metabolic difficulties that I did in entering into it, because I had poor blood sugar and insulin control before I even started. And so it forced me to find another way, and that's why I went ketogenic. And I still am. I'm back on it now. He's not worried about glycation because he takes all of these things that help inhibit glycation, and he's only eating once a day. The insulin spike is for a couple hours. There are benefits to it. We do need to activate mTOR, and he reaps the benefit. Have your cake and eat it too. When you're fasting all day like that and eating calorically restricted, you do not need to go keto. I've done it myself where I was eating 200, 250 grams of pure sugar at the end of my fast. And it would, I believe my glucose was going to like 140, and then I'd wake up in ketosis like 6 hours later. So it's possible to cultivate that kind of sensitivity, and I don't believe there's much damage done at all. The answer is not no glycation or no insulin ever. It's minimize the intense spikes. And yeah, for sure. Yeah, growth hormone. Human growth hormone is HGH, yeah. Low carb diet was horrible for me. Yeah, you got to find what works for you. really impaired my performance. You got to really give it time to adapt. It takes 3 months to adapt. That's kind of like a baseline. Some people who are high performance athletes who are training a lot may adapt faster. And there's an art to it because, especially if you're training, you have to master your electrolytes, particularly potassium and magnesium. And then you can take more salt. You need to take more salt. And these are vital to go in keto, especially if you're an athlete, or you'll get those slumps. But the studies that I've seen, especially when it comes to endurance, is once you're adapted, like like keto is the way to go. That's my perception right now. If you're an explosive athlete, you're trying to do powerlifting, you want to stick with the sugars. You want to load up the glycogen consistently enough, just enough glycogen. That's my perspective. This whole thing is my perspective. Yeah, it just takes time to adapt to keto. But you have to understand too, different fat sources result in different results. You can't just eat fat, like all saturated fat. I highly recommend high ALA, alpha linoleic acid, precursor to DHA and EPA. Avoiding animal fats, honestly, it's the arachidonic acid. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that properly. It's the omega-6 in animal fats, that in animal foods, that is the inflammatory omega-6. So it's the AAs that'll inflame you and zap your energy and your clarity. Yeah, near-death experience, man. God bless. Metabolic difficulty, truly at almost dying. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear, brother. Trauma is a freaking bitch, bro. I'm sorry, man. You really got to be aware. I'm not sure where you did this ceremony, but it's such a popular thing to do these days, but an amazing thing, and that needs to be done in a ceremonial way. Respected, the right environment, the right people. There's definitely an art to it, and more is not better, right? Dosage is the prescription. And man, especially pursuing it with being in pain, with metabolic disorder, that's a lot to take on, brother. I commend you on your efforts, brother. I wish you the best. Oh, cool, man. For me, I was like, did he write that question? 200 plus grams of sugar a day. Okay, so understand that I'm an experimenter. That's what I do. And so my theory here, you can hold about it depends on how much muscle mass you have. You can hold about 300 grams of glycogen in your muscles, somewhere around there. Actually, I think it's a lot more than that. Your liver's like 100 or so. But that's about how much you'll use in an arduous training session. And so I was working to dial in a glucose that I got after I trained, so that I wasn't taking any extra sugar and it was going straight to my muscles. And I chose dextrose, which is pure glucose, over fructose because fructose is known to go to the liver first and have to be processed. It also is more likely to create glycation, and dextrose or pure glucose is preferentially directed to the muscles. And so my theory was, if I train really hard and then I break my fast, and the sugar or the carbs that I use is pure glucose, it doesn't have to be digested. It gets drawn straight into the body and goes straight to the cell. And I have personally had difficulty digesting like a lot of carbs, grains, beans, things like that. There's a lot of potential reasons why. I've gone in and out of phases where I can handle it. Ultimately, I think my genes are more geared towards higher fat, in all honesty. It could definitely be a microbiome, bacterial thing. But when I did those experiments with the high sugar, I can't say I've tested liver markers or know what kind of stress, but the glycogen does not need to be processed or digested. So that's my theory. Absorbed, bloodstream, muscles. That's my perception there. Dear man. Wow. Singing medals, man. Wow. Good night, brother, man. It's great to hear from you, dude. God bless. Eating before sleep as well as the fasted training in the evening beforehand helps with recovery at all? You felt it's all the same. Eating before you sleep is just the ideal in the sense that it's natural. It triggers our parasympathetic nervous system. After we eat, we want to rest and digest. And so it's ideal if you only have to eat once a day to put that at the very end of your day when you're done with all of your productive efforts. And so for me, it is ideal. And to endure the ability to train fast, sure, I wouldn't recommend that if you're performing or going to a competition, but if you're just training and wanting to stimulate the most growth by putting on a fair amount of stress and difficulty, then that's a ticket, that fasted training. And then when you are in a fed state and you have to apply, you have a lot of power, a lot more strength in your body. All right, guys, I definitely went all over the place. The main idea is thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate this connection, and let's keep cultivating it. Let's keep sharing. Let's be patient. Let's keep practicing. And it's always a pleasure, my friends. So until next time. Oh, yeah, and questions where the main area of focus and inquiries are will help me to direct my writing as well as my videos. So I really appreciate that, guys. Like, subscribe, share, spread the good news. Awesome. Aloha.